Welcome to the MFS Wellness Podcast, a hybrid structure encompassing health, fitness, self-improvement, and entertainment, where no topic is off limits and all opinions are graciously welcomed.
Let's get on with the show!
And now, here's the host of the show, Mike Sinopoli.
Welcome to the MFS Wellness Podcast. I am Mike Sinopoli, certified nutrition coach, consultant, counselor, call me whatever you would like. On this episode, I'm going to divert a little bit away from the whole nutrition thing and talk about a midlife crisis. What that is it real? A lot of times, as we've been growing up, if you're my age, I'm 39 years old, you kind of think about midlife crisis as a joke. You think of a guy that buys a motorcycle, a sports car, maybe a woman gets breast implants, something crazy that's just almost laughable. We make a joke of it. And, we just say, oh, look at them. They're in a midlife crisis. They're just doing crazy things. They want to be young again. You almost, make fun of them in a way. And we almost take someone that's going through a midlife crisis and doing some erratic things and make jokes. So I was one of those people. I never thought that a midlife crisis was a real thing. I thought it was just something people did consciously, where they just began acting below their age and the standards of what a society sets is what they should be doing. Maybe they kick up the partying, they go drinking more, they're traveling more, they're doing more things. And in some ways, maybe some of this stuff can be okay and healthy. Maybe they're letting loose a little bit more. They're letting go of societal standards for their age that don't mean shit, because we realize that age doesn't matter one bit. So what we're talking about here, it goes a little bit beyond that, and I feel as if I can speak a bit about this. I don't have any solutions for you necessarily, but I can talk about what you can define if you're going through it for yourself. I think you can define it yourself. I think you can also go to a therapist, psychologist, or anything else if you're really having a time as you age and struggling with that and wondering exactly what is going on in your brain and what is happening. So I'm just going to kind of go off of what I've been researching, what I've been feeling, what I've been seeing. And, a midlife crisis sort of hits, there's different ranges where it hits people. It hits as early as your late 30s and later into your upper 50s into your early 60s. I mean, necessarily midlife is never promised. We don't know if we're in our midlife. We could be very well behind. We can be ahead of it. We can die tomorrow. We don't know our midlife. It's just a term. So what really happens here, to me, in my experiences, is you sort of feel some sort of generational shift. And a lot of things kind of play into that. It's obviously your age. As I push 40, I've sort of noticed that I'm seeing a lot of people out there younger than me, and that, I'm not used to that. That's not how I lived my life for 39 years. I was the youth. I was considered the youth, and now I'm realizing I am not. And it'll smack you right in the face on a lot of levels. If you have kids, as your kids grow, that's a mind fuck and a half. When your kid goes from being a infant to toddler, and then becomes a person, it's just like one of my daughters is 8, and she's just developing. She's a little more mature for her age, I believe, and it's just wild that okay, I'm living with another human being now in my house, not just another kid, just a child that I'm responsible for. I am responsible for this kid, but she's becoming her own person, and that makes you feel like you lose a little bit of control, and that loss of control can spark some anxiety, which is a big part of the midlife crisis. So it's seeing your kids progress in age, which is obviously good. It's a good news. So this is, that's the only way we can move. We can only move in one direction. We can only age, and we should celebrate every single year in every single instance that we can see every day. So that's sort of what I see in my kids, but at the same time, it'll show you how fast things are moving. And one of the things too that I used to roll my eyes at, adults would say, when you're having a kid, or they grow up fast. It's that white noise, right? That cliched statement for having kids. They grow up so fast. You've heard it, but man, when you feel it, holy shit, they grow up fucking fast. And I'm not kidding. And it's the you can see it, you see it in pictures. You go on Facebook and they throw you your memories from 5, 7, 8, 10 years ago. And it feels like that was 5, 10 months ago, not 5, 10 years. And it's just like, holy crap, this is really starting to spiral. That, and then also another one that's been really tugging at me a lot is death, and seeing death around me more. I was like, wow, what's going on? Like people are dying, like everyone, like people's parents are passing away. I've never experienced so many, my peers' parents are going, and I can't believe it. And it's sad and it's awful. And I'm like, is something wrong in the world here? It's like, no, nothing's wrong in the world. It's called the progression of life. And it's a hard thing to grasp, because it's like, wow, like I'm not used to seeing this. It's depressing. And even people my age, I have, witnessed more deaths among my peers, and I'm wondering, is it something wrong? Is it something in our, our diet? Is it our culture? Is it our life? Is it our way we live? And maybe some of it does contribute to that. But at the same time, we are just flat out getting older. I had a conversation with a friend. We were driving to a concert, and he told, we were just like, what, maybe we're just getting older, and this is just what happens in life. And that's really it. And that really is what it comes down to. And that in itself is a little scary. And, cause you never know. You never know. Nothing's promised. Last year, my grandmother was 91, just about 91 years old, and she passed away. She was my last grandparent. When that happened, I mentally felt a shift, a generational shift, as that entire level of grandparents has now been removed from my life. They are gone, and that is weird. So as of October of last year, I lived my life for the first time ever without a grandparent. I understand some of you listening may have never met your grandparents, or still have them, or lost them long ago. But for me, it's a new feeling and a new new sign of progression. Seeing that, and then my parents are becoming the grandparents, and that's just another one of those things that you just see and you witness, and it's just wow. It's just, okay, here we go. Now what's next? So, my parents are next, supposedly in the progression of life, though we're not guaranteed anything, So there's that. And then there comes the cookie cutter way of living that we have. And you kind of open your eyes to realize the bullshit around all of it. It's a set standard that we kind of have here, at least in the United States, where you go to school, you go to college, you get a job, you get married, you buy a house, you have kids, you have a second kid, and then what? That's where I'm at. So now it's like, now what? Okay, so I'm 39 and I'm supposed to work until I'm 65 and hope I live that long, retire, and then die. So that you kind of hit this spot where you're just like, whoa, is this it? Like, is this all that's there? Is this what's left? And you start looking for things to add to fulfillment. And this is where I can't necessarily give you any sort of guidance, because I'm not qualified, nor do I feel like I've even figured it out myself. But you can sort of start realizing you're looking around at things that may be a little more out there. I started a tattoo sleeve on my arm. I also had rhinoplasty surgery here, and these may be reactions to my midlife. These are things that I've sort of thought about my whole life, and I just said, fuck it, it's time. Let's do something here. Let's change things up. Let's go for it. Let's just do it. So, in some cases, the midlife crisis does lend itself to some taking that leap, maybe jumping out of the hamster wheel of life and trying some new things. and just going after it. In some cases, that could be a disaster. Who knows? It depends on the person. We're all individuals. We're all very diverse. We all have different wants, needs, and thoughts, and just we have to do it our best with a clear head, is what I think when you go through this. But overall, the world sometimes can look a little different, and I don't know necessarily if this COVID-19 pandemic played a part in this, because I think a lot of people's view of the world has changed through this. Whatever your view of it is, there's a lot of different theories and thoughts, and I'm not going to get into that here right now, but I don't know who's wrong. I don't know who's right. We all have our thoughts, and our thoughts create what we do and how we feel. So I'm not going to shame or dive into that at all. So like, for instance, like causes of a midlife crisis, is kind of what I went through here. What can happen? I mean, you can lose sleep. You have the ability to concentrate goes down. You might feel like you're just freezing at certain points. I get to that at some times where I'm just like, I don't know what to do. I feel pressure to do everything I've ever wanted to do in my life in one day. I literally but then I just stand there because I can't freaking do all of it in one day. Nor do I even know if I am going to. Like, what does it? And then what are the things that I want to do? Do they even matter? I had a list before this pandemic. I wanted to get to all 50 states, all 47 European countries, and all 30 MLB stadiums. Those were some of my bucket list goals. Now that I look back and at it, what the hell am I doing? Do I care about this? Why was this something I wanted to complete in my life? And what satisfaction and fulfillment am I going to get from it? I don't know. Maybe I'll complete it and feel some sort of brief satisfaction, but I don't really believe it's there. So that's the struggle, is trying to find what completes you now. What is it now? What are you going to reach for that actually matters and is going to have any sort of self-fulfillment? And I don't think it's external. I think it's internal. And that's the struggle, is to completely take that logic of, hey, this is an internal job, and connect that somehow with that gut feeling and really feel what you're doing with yourself. I'm not there. I don't know how to do that. I read about it all the time. I hear people talk about it on podcasts all the time, but I don't know. So that's where I'm at, and that's what I'm working on. Some symptoms of a midlife crisis in both men and women. I'm taking this from Ascenda Integrated Health. I thought this was a good rundown here. What can happen, because a midlife crisis can be confused with depression, and I have felt that myself. So here are some, according to them below, here are some common symptoms of a midlife crisis in men and women. Feeling sad or a lack of confidence, especially after a big milestone accomplishment or birthday. So that would be like, you hit 40 and, maybe you're excited, you had your birthday, and you're like, oh, that's just another downer for me, because now I can't get any of that time back. I try my very best to look back at time and be grateful that I had it. This does help. I have seen a few peers buried over the last couple of years. Very sad, very unfortunate, very shocking. And as a tribute to them, and as a nod to their lives and what they are going to miss and what they have missed already, I have the responsibility to go ahead and be grateful for every day where I age. And that's the mentality I'm taking. So, and I have pretty much done well with that. Some feelings of depression do come in. 40 is creeping. My half birthday's coming up here, and I'm just thinking about those things. But you know what? Hey, I'm grateful to be here. That's where I'm at. So I'm doing okay there. Feeling bored and loss of meaning or purpose in life. 100% have I felt this. Even doing what I love to do, having 2 beautiful kids, a beautiful wife, a great home, great family, a lot of blessings in my life. There's the feeling of boredom will come in and destroy it. And we don't need that, because that is just negativity filtering into something that's positive. And again, that's a hard thing to connect. Feeling unfulfilled is the next bullet point here. I think that's just something that we have. I believe as human beings, we are wired to always be productive, doing something, feeding, and then I think that feeds our self-worth. And I think that's something that we really thrive on as individuals, which I think is a great thing, because I think that just boosts productivity. I think that's why it's so important for people to find something that drives them in their lives, because they'll get that feeling of fulfillment while being productive, earning money, and doing their part to society in their community. I think that's excellent. It's just tough to get there, and if you're struggling, you're not the only one. And even if you do find what you think you're going to do, you may still feel unfulfilled, and that's just not necessarily anything external. Again, that'll be internal, in my opinion. Feelings of nostalgia. I am a whore for nostalgia. I will tell you that. I love throwbacks. I love revisiting things. I love thinking about shit from the 90s. I watched the old Bulls, the Chicago Bulls, old Seinfeld, wrestling. Anything from my youth is so fondly remembered, which I just attribute to having a great childhood, a great family, a great upbringing, and I'm blessed for that. So I look at it like that, and I try to not spend too much time in the past. A nice balance of reflecting and being grateful, showing gratitude, and sharing memories with friends is ideal. But we also have to live in the moment. So, sometimes I get lost in the past and and then you try to revive it. You try to revive the past and live it again, and it doesn't hit the same. So sometimes it's just something left in your head that you can appreciate. Excessive thinking about the past is the next bullet point. I kind of just went into that. Not always a bad thing. If you're thinking about the past, that means that your past was good. I would say. You wouldn't be thinking about the past negatively, I don't think. You would probably want to erase those memories and neglect that. So that's a good thing. So if anything, you could just go ahead and have more gratitude. We always seem to remember the past more fondly than when we were in it. So I think a solid way to move forward in life is to try to kind of like love it while you're in it, instead of do it while you're there, not really, let it settle into you and then remember it fondly, but like remember it like while it's happening, like enjoy it then as much as you do looking back. So anyways, that's kind of the same as the other. Making impulse actions, that is definitely something that happens in a midlife crisis. That's where the jokes come in, with the sports cars, the plastic surgery, the motorcycles, the whatever else it is. And sometimes maybe those impulses, they work out for you, and you're glad it happened. So that's a positive to the midlife crisis. However, the next bullet point is feelings of regret. That could be from the past. Again, what you have and haven't done. You might feel behind in life because society sets bullshit standards for everybody, and we're not all the same, not even close. But you might regret some of your impulse actions. Constantly comparing yourself to others is the next bullet point. I think that's just human nature. I think that's something we have to all kind of just take a step back from, is comparing ourselves to others. I'm guilty of it. But with social media, Instagram, and all this, people showing off their best, it's very, 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 very shitty right now for people in their egos and their self-confidence to not feel well by comparing themselves to other people's perfection and their filters and their perfect life and what they choose to broadcast, which is probably only about 2 to 3% of their lives and 0% of their actual thoughts. In women, it says the symptoms may be worse because of menopause. So that's something to think about. I obviously cannot speak on that. In men, emotions may be more angry or irritated. And I can speak on that, as I definitely have struggled with some anger issues in my life, and I'm not proud of it. And irritability is something that comes and goes for me. So, hey, I'm not afraid to admit that. And that's fine. And we all have something. And, I'm transparent. I don't mind sharing. I don't need to be private. That's just, part of who I am. So then I went to another website, verywellmind.com here, and they have some ways of how to help somebody that's experiencing a midlife crisis. I mean, first of all, do we really know what it is? I don't know. It could be just such a gray area. They could be going through a depression, just a tough time. But what they recommend is just to sit, listen, and do your best to be non-judgmental towards people, expressing concern. Ask if they're okay. Suggest they get help as peacefully and nicely as you can without ruffling any feathers. Professional help in a midlife crisis, I think, is huge. I have been in therapy myself. I've gotten a lot of benefit out of it, all different kinds. So and there's no shame in that. Asking for help is a strength, whether it comes for your mental health or your physical being or whatever else you need, your emotions, all of that. And then, get help for yourself and seek immediate assistance if someone feels suicidal. I mean, some of this stuff I can tell you before you think I'm into anything. I've never been suicidal, and I'm happy about that. And nothing wrong with you if you have been. If you're listening, props to you because you have overcome that, and that's a strength, and you should be proud of it. Not saying that I never will, but that's just sort of what it is. Another list here from what we got, 7 Summit Pathways, a treatment recovery center. Signs and symptoms of a midlife crisis. These have a few different ones here that I wanted to just quickly rattle off. Feeling stuck in a rut, hopeless about your options for the future. That's a very important one because feeling stuck is a lonely feeling. It's a very helpless, lonely feeling, is feeling stuck, and that can lead to erratic behavior and potentially harm to oneself or whatever it might be, and destroying families around them, and all of that scary, depressing stuff. Dramatic, like we've said before, dramatic changes in mood, irritability, or anger, erratic or impulsive decision making. We went through. Feeling the need for a new schedule, habit, or challenge. It's like overhauling your life and just having to like restart everything because this isn't working. Oversleeping or the inability to sleep. So you could have some sleep issues through your midlife crisis, whether it's too much or too little. And like I've talked about in podcasts before, sleep is literally more important than your diet, more important than your training. With low sleep, you're messed up every which way, and you can't function on those other things without the right sleep. Obsessing over how you look and changing your personal appearance. That's me. Not proud of it. I mean, I try not to be a superficial individual. I definitely take my appearance, and that's something okay to do. You don't have to just, let yourself go or fall into the body positive movement and just accept yourself for what it is. You can change. You can do what you need to do. I don't personally regret the changes I've made on my body through this process I've been in, which is my tattoos, my rhinoplasty, and then also my physique, which is fine by me. These are things I'm happy I did. But anyways, that's another sign that you might be going through that. Disconnecting with old friends and replacing them with new or younger friends. That's a huge thing because you are growing and changing. And, a lot of this has a double-edged sword. Maybe your old friends aren't fulfilling for you. Maybe maybe you've moved on and maybe you feel like a different person now. And then you want to change it up and you want to associate with somebody different. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, provided it's coming from the right mentality. I would look back at some things and, I keep track with a lot of friends and keep in touch with them, I should say. But, some have gone, some have left. And I think some people are only in your life for a brief period of time. Others are there forever. And it's just organic on how it happens. I don't think you can necessarily force it either way. It's just, hey, this is unfortunate. This is enough. Life's too short to have this mentality of, oh, it's just how they are, or I've known them forever. Let's keep it. If they're toxic and they're just dragging you down every time you interact with them, forget it. Get rid of it. That's it. It's over. It's the sign. End it. It's okay. It sucks. It might suck. It might hurt. But hey, your mental health, your emotional health, and your life and well-being is worth more than keeping a relationship that's going to absolutely destroy all of that. Changing career paths. I did that. My wife did that. We did that in the last couple of years. Again, a good thing that we were happier. We're doing it, making ends meet, It's all good. Leaving your spouse, committing infidelity. These are very common things as well. It's just like the friendship thing. That's something that you've been married at 40. You've been married for 15 years at this point, and you're just like, this is all I got. This is it. This is very common to think about. People will get involved in other relationships, have affairs, begin swinging, begin doing whatever else they do. And you know what? That's just something that has to be managed and talked about. The only advice I can give on that is be open and honest. Talk to your spouse. Don't be afraid of them, because that's going to be something that you're going to just regret, and then you're going to end up just acting alone and on your own. The best way to keep that going, your marriage going, I can speak by that, is to have open conversation and just say what you're feeling. And it might hurt, it might suck, and then when you get that out, now it's your spouse's responsibility to be as mature as you and respond correctly. I have done that and not done that. So, it's a process, and that's something that's going to keep going, and you just have to weigh it out and see what's important in your life. Feeling listless or bored. Absolutely. You can definitely start feeling boredom in things you've been doing regularly. And it sucks, and it almost feels like you're lost and you're not your same person. I've looked back and wondered who is this person? Like, I see me talking on Facebook from 10 years ago, or in a video or whatever else, or in a memory, and like, I don't even feel like that was me. Very crazy, but it's all good. Experiencing bouts of depression, remorse, or anxiety, all that'll hit. That's a deep bullet point there. I'm not going to go further. Entertaining obsessive thoughts about death or dying, another deep one. Not going to get into that. Haven't experienced it. Not qualified to speak on it. Increasing alcohol or drug use. That is probably another one that people will go for. I actually stopped drinking, which is good. Sometimes the urge creeps in, and I talked about that before. So that's really what kind of goes on in the midlife crisis. If you're younger, if you're maybe under 35, you haven't felt it. Maybe you already have. I don't think it's really age specific. I just think it's a feeling that you get at a certain point of life when you just realize, what the hell am I doing here? Maybe you realize that the pathway isn't for you. You got to open your eyes and realize that, maybe you're one of those people. You're not married. You don't have any kids. You got an okay job, and you're just, people are, when are you going to get married? When are you going to have kids? And they're just coming at you to follow this process of life. Tell them to fuck off. I mean, seriously, in the nicest way possible, tell these people to just go fuck off, because, your life does not have a set direction. I was talking with a friend of mine, and he said that he felt he was moving backwards in life. And I said, no, there's no direction in life. If there is a direction, we're all in the same direction. And so a beeline to death, and that's it. And you can look at that in two ways. You can get depressed and down, or you can just fucking say, holy shit, nothing matters. Let's go. Let's do what we got to do and do our best at it, and just live. It's not easy to take that mindset, but I try every day. And, as I told him, that's my best analysis is that this is just, life has a phony process set by society. Societal norms are garbage in many ways. Sometimes it works for people, sometimes it doesn't, but if you feel like it's not for you, that pathway of school, work, marriage, kids, retirement, death, if that just sucks for you, then who cares? You don't have to be on that path. Just because Aunt Helen asks you 700 times at Thanksgiving, when you're going to get married, when you're going to have kids, just eat your turkey, Aunt Helen, because I'm doing life my way. Just because you did it one way, I'm not going to do it the same way as you. So whatever, be nice to your Aunt Helen though. She probably means well for you. So that's midlife crisis. In my view, what we go through a little bit, it's can be anything: lost, depressing, anxious, unfulfilled, all that stuff. But it does have a good side to it. Like I kind of said, I've made some decisions in my life that I believe actually worked out well for me during this time. Sometimes you gotta fall into a pit. Sometimes you got to fall into a pit, and emotionally, internally, it's all you. An external person doesn't get it because they just view you and your externals. They'll say you have the great family, the house, the money, the kids, the whatever. They'll look at that. You look good. You're this, you're that. They'll tell you all these great things about you, and that's nice. They're trying to help, but they're not going to help pull you out of that pit. That's internal, and that's a process. Just don't give up, and don't fall into shit you don't want to do, and don't do it to please anyone. People pleasing is not going to be appreciated by anybody. They will maybe say that to you, but ultimately they don't care. A lot of people like their comfort zone. So what happens with that is they want you to be doing what they see as best for you. That's usually from a parent a lot of times, sometimes a spouse, sometimes a friend, anybody. It kind of comes in the diet world. To kind of put it back into nutrition, you might have a friend who's overweight and or whatever, likes to eat, and you just kind of, and then you'd want to make that change where you're like, you know what, I've had enough of this, and you go ahead and start making changes to your diet. You start working out a little bit, and that person becomes uncomfortable with themselves because of you're willing to change. They might come at you with a little bit of shame, a little bit of whatever, but that's just their insecurity being projected at you, and they want that misery loves company. They want your company in their misery pit, in their bubble. So when you leave that bubble or try to go somewhere else, they want to pull you back in. It's not until they make their decision themselves that you're going to be in a new bubble with them doing better things. So that's one. Parents too, the parents want to see you they think, hey, get a job, the old school, the boomers, our parents, my age parents, they want you to have that secure job, that, 9 to 5, whatever the fuck. And that makes them happy because they think that's what's security, and they want to see their kids be secure and happy. They mean well, but it's old school. It's old hat. And sometimes I believe, and most of the time, that jobs have become so dynamic that 9 to 5 is just old hat. It's just old school. It's mundane. It's not fun. It still exists. You might have to do it. You might even like it. But you know what? For me, it's not for me. I've done it, did it for several years. And sometimes your parents, and they want to see you there because it's, it makes them feel comfortable and safe. So that's where safety, comfort, and all that shit comes into play, to where you don't grow because you're living for people pleasing. And that's where you lose yourself, and you're doing everything for everybody else, and you do not have your own identity. And then the midlife crisis can also be an identity crisis in itself. So that's another thing then, when you realize, holy shit, I'm listening to all these fucking people. They don't matter, even the closest ones to me. What matters is me and what I'm doing. That doesn't mean to go ahead and self-help yourself into being a selfish person. You got to have some for yourself, but you also got to give back and put your priorities in order to who's important. That'll be your kids, obviously spouses, family members, friends, things like that. They all matter, but you got to take care of yourself first. It's the old school. Put the oxygen mask on yourself first on the plane, and then help those around you. So you have to use that cliche a bit in your life, I think. So at this point, that's kind of where I see midlife crises in myself, in others sometimes. And, it says here, there's a stat on one of these pages that says only 26% of people go through a midlife crisis. I don't know. I'm not going to challenge the data. I don't know who did it or who put that out there, but I do believe that it's more than that. I just think that the whole midlife crisis thing gets wrapped into other things, other mental illnesses, depression, anxiety, whatever else it might be, or just flat out denial that they're not in one. That people just, their ego takes, I'm not in a midlife crisis. I'm in control of myself. Yeah, they might not be. So I think it's more. But anyways, that's it for this one here, this episode. I wanted to jump on and kind of put that one out there. Something I've seen people go through and going through myself. So if you want to chat further on that, I'm always open to do so, especially through social media. That's the easiest way to get in touch with me. It's at MFS Wellness. That's on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook. You can also send me an email, mike@mfswellness.com. So anything nutrition related, midlife crisis related, or really anything, I'm happy to talk about whatever with whoever. So until we come back for the next episode, thanks to everyone who listens, and we will see you then.